So guys, we're here with Sam Bailey. Sam, it's great to have you. How has your year been?
Yeah, nice to see you too, Busy. It's been a really good year, thanks very much. Feels like yesterday I was sitting right here, so it's gone very quick, but it's been an amazing year, and we've seen a lot of amazing stuff happening. God's been moving. It's been some real adventures, but it's good to be back.
Yeah. And how would you say your walk with Jesus has changed since you started leading worship with Soul Survivor?
I think, I don't think it's necessarily changed. I think if anything, I feel like I'm getting to know him better. I think there's that amazing thing that actually the Lord's calling us deeper, isn't he, every day. So I think as I'm sort of trying to move forward in this thing of worship leading and what that means to be a worship leader, trying to find out more stuff about him, trying to learn more about him, trying to spend more time with him. Sometimes that's harder than others, but no, I think it's been a good year.
So let's just expand on that a little. So what kind of things do you take away from leading worship?
Well, I think it's different. Wherever you're leading worship, I think there are times where God's really trying to reveal a certain different thing. And here with the youth, I think the first few sessions have really been about that thing of God ministering into maybe some of the disappointment, some of the brokenness, and often we come away from some of those worship times feeling that we've been able to sing about His faithfulness and a hope and truth and the peace that we find. Last week's just doing another conference, and we sort of ended on a real high. You know, it was, sort of really came away feeling like there was this sense that God's people were rising up, and so different in different places.
Mm. So being in the spotlight, how do you kind of stop yourself from getting into that place of feeling like you're being vain, and how do you keep yourself humble and keep it pointed at Jesus? Yeah,
I think that's a good point. I think we have to keep pointing to Jesus. It's the first thing. I think when I'm leading worship, I think I'm trying to remind myself, how am I pointing to Jesus? And ultimately, because we're human, there'll always be an element of our humanity that comes alongside the stuff that we do. But I think that's that constant thing, is that every day, Lord, to submit. Lord, I want to submit to you. I was reading something the other day, actually, a guy called Oswald Chambers. I was reading some of his devotional stuff, and he was talking about how we often talk about how we dedicate our gifts to him, we dedicate our talents, and actually he gave this sort of fresh outlook on it, talking about how those things, they already belong to him, they already belong to God, and actually the thing we really can surrender and dedicate to him is our rights to ourselves. So it's that sort of daily thing, Lord, that stuff already belongs to you. What I'm going to surrender is the right I have to myself, and I think that's where you try and find that humility. Also, there's nothing more refreshing than seeing your uni mates or your non-Christian mates all pop into the gym where no one has a clue what you do, and that's often quite a grounding time and much needed as well.
Yeah. So one of the themes we're kind of looking at throughout this set of series is that lasting the distance, kind of going the full way. And has there ever been a time in your life when you've thought about giving up, and what's kept you on the course?
Yeah, I think there are definitely times where it's harder than others. I think I just found myself saying from a young age, I believe this is true, Lord, I trust you. And I think in those times where it feels like everything's sort of falling apart, I think actually if we really choose to hope and choose to trust, He's so in those valley moments. He's so in those valley moments. And ultimately that's where we have to choose to cling on and choose to hope more. And I feel He's got more stuff for us in that place. And that's where He's moulding us, that's where He's teaching us. But yeah, I think there is that, for a lot of us, I think we often hit that point sometimes where we're just saying, Lord, what is this all about? And I think as long as we're coming before Him and giving Him everything, saying, Lord, what is all of this? Then actually we're pointing the right way. And, as long as our focus is on Him. But it's hard, yeah.
That's great. And was there a specific point when you thought, yeah, I think actually I'm called to be a worship leader? Was there a significant moment or anything like that?
Yeah, I actually remember doing, I remember at university and at school, I sort of had these dual lives in a way, and not a dual life, but dual passions, and I had this love for sport, and I used to love doing that. I really felt I was glorifying the Lord in that as well, and I loved doing that. And then on the other side was this thing of music, and actually alongside that came this thing of being a worship leader and helping people in this thing of worship. But I felt that actually neither of those things should dictate who I am in a way, or neither of those things should be where my security is in. Above all that, you know, my security needs to be in I'm a son of God and have a relationship with Him. But yeah, there was a moment where I think I was doing a gig, just a secular gig with a friend, playing at this concert and doing a few songs, and I remember looking out and people had clapped, and I just remember thinking, this is not me. I just remember thinking, people aren't worshipping. I didn't really like the attention, and didn't sit well with me. And I just remember in that moment feeling the Lord was calling me into a thing of what it was to lead people in worship and point people to Him, and that's just been an ongoing process from there. So, but yeah, that thing about actually not being defined by being a worship leader, actually, that's, you know, some of the stuff that comes with that is often confusing. Actually, before that, I have a relationship with Him, I want to serve Him, and I get it wrong. But worship leading comes out of the overflow of that, I think.
So let's take you back to that very first time that you ever led worship. What was the very first song you did? And was it a difficult choice for your first set list? How did it go? Yeah,
I was about 15 or 16, and it was with my brother, and we led worship together at school, at a school CU, and we stood alongside each other with our guitars, and yeah, it was great fun, and we probably sang out of tune. No, I think it was okay, but I loved doing it with him. It was great fun, and I'm trying to think the song. It's probably a Matt Redman song or something like that, I think. But yeah, it was good fun all those years ago.
And we're just going to end with one final question. What is the best example of God's love that you have ever seen, either yourself or through someone else? Yeah,
there've been a few. I think being able to travel this year has been an amazing time, and you sort of see all these different moments, these humbling moments. I think one thing I've seen recently, just because it's fresh, Soul Survivor A, we had a few weeks ago back in the Stafford, and I was just wandering around the back during the worship, during the first night, and it was an amazing time of worship. People were really pressing into God's presence, really felt like people were having a good time and really worshipping, and there was a real freedom, and there was this sort of time of celebration, and people were dancing around and singing. Often that can get quite frantic, and I was just towards the back at the right, and I just noticed this girl sitting on the ground, and she had a tambourine, and her helper was with her, and you know, she had special needs, and she was hitting her tambourine, and it was out of time, and it was in the wrong places, and her helper was sort of helping her tap it, and I really felt in that moment He just spoke to me about how He delighted in that, and He loved that, and just the way there was real friendship in the way they were both doing it together, and there was a real joy in it, and there was a real love in that, and I just really felt the Lord say, I see that, I see that. So that thing of compassion and love and how that fits in with worship, I think, was significant.